Welcome to The Way Home with Laura Smith, the show that brings you wonderful guests, helpful advice, and uplifting stories. The Way Home. Live inspired. Here's your host, Laura Smith.
This is the season for sure between end-of-year graduations, proms, the holidays, you name it. There are so many reasons that teens and adults alike get super distracted whilst they're driving. And in fact, I think it's probably become one of the leading causes of so many accidents and mishaps while driving. I have someone here to help us through this today. She has a great organization that's been co-founded to try to help mitigate crashes and accidents and everything that are due to just being a distracted driver. We all need a reminder of this. Jennifer Smith, who co-founded StopDistractions.org. Thank you for being here. This is such an important topic, especially right around now, I think, right?
Oh, definitely. With the summer coming upon us, this is really serious and something that we need to talk about now. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is so crucial. And I know that you personally were affected by somebody that was involved in an accident due to distracted driving. I don't know if you want to share details on that or if you just want to say the kind of the basis of what being a distracted driver, what does it mean? And how can we help to change some habits around this and maybe help the statistics from not growing anymore?
Well, I mean, it starts with my story. I was a distracted driver. I was a real estate agent. So I was always distracted behind the wheel. I was looking at maps. I was taking notes. I was on the phone. This was back in 2008 that it impacted me, though, was when my mother was hit by a driver who was on their cell phone. From that, I just realized that so many people were doing this and I needed to get the message out. And so I started to share my story and reached out to other families like myself who had been impacted by these tragedies and helped them share their stories as well. And so that's how StopDistractions.org was founded. It's a network of families who work together to share their stories, to really make this real and to hope to change behavior and change the culture behind distracted driving.
Absolutely. And, you know, it can happen to anyone. It could be a young person who's just gotten their license or someone, you know, like me who's been driving for decades upon decades. And yet it just is just so easy. And even when you kind of make a commitment to yourself, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep my phone down. I'm going to do this and that. Sometimes you're like, what is going on? Why can't I just seem to be completely phone free in the car? But it does seem difficult. So what are some of the ways that, for young people driving on the road that need to be reminded even more often, or maybe even have some strict rules around it set by the parents themselves, or just regular adults who need to get into better habits?
Well, we all need to, not underestimate any step as a small step. And so for one, the simplest task you could do is turn on Do Not Disturb while driving on your phone. It's in your settings, and that way it'll hold your calls and text messages and send a message back to the person to let them know that you're driving so they don't expect you to answer. Just removing that temptation is a huge step forward. Even before that, you just need to make the decision and commit to doing this and have your family do the same thing. You know, and challenge each other, hold each other accountable, turn on that Do Not Disturb while driving. And then when you're in the car with each other, speak up, remind others to drive safe. It's really a cultural thing that we've got to make it so it's not the norm. It is no longer acceptable for us to use our phones behind the wheel.
Absolutely. There really is. I mean, when we think about the things we get distracted by and why we're feeling like it's so crucial to answer something right at that moment. And then you think about it later and you're like, it was not important. And so, yes, in fact, I remember a time when Oprah was still on television and she had this whole thing about putting the phone in the glove compartment. Well, nowadays, like you said, if you don't have the do not disturb on your phone, you're still going to get the message because it's going to come up on your hands-free, computer screen in your car, and you're going to be distracted by it anyway. So this do not disturb, I never knew that. I always see that I have a do not disturb button, but I've never thought about using it while I'm driving. So that is super tangible and easy to do. What are some other wonderful ideas to keep people not only hands-free, but, distracted-free?
Well, it's funny you brought that up because I worked actually on that Oprah no phone zone is what she called it through that campaign. Right. And so that is a great tie-in. Use that do not disturb to help make your car a no phone zone, but then also know that there's so many resources and knowledge out there in your communities that can help you. If you go to places like statefarm.com/safe driving, they have got tons of information, resources, and tips, things that you could really use to help start this message and this behavior change. Don't forget just being alert and focused, reminding others, speaking up. All of these small things add up, and then we can be successful and make sure that families are together.
Absolutely. And I still think sometimes when I'm in a car and somebody's on their phone or whatever, you get that tinge of like when you were a teenager, you're embarrassed to say something. You don't want to say anything and have them be offended or whatever. But, those are so silly in comparison with how much worse it can be if heaven forbid someone does get in an accident. Thank you so much. The no phone go zone or whatever that was, it stuck with me all these years later. And how interesting that you are part of making that happen because of your own personal experience. Jennifer Smith, thank you so much for the great reminder. And again, give that website where people can go for more information.
You can check my website out at stopdistractions.org, or you can go to statefarm.com/safe driving for other tips, tools, and resources.
Thank you so much. I think you saved some lives today. I really appreciate you being on.
Thank you so much, and drive safe.
You're listening to The Way Home with Laura Smith. Once again, here's Laura.
Well, what could be more important at the end of the day than your relationship, right? Or your relationships. For someone like me who is not married, I have yet to experience the kind of relationship that I want to take into the forever. But I've had many wonderful, deep and beautiful friendships and love type of relationships. And, of course, familial as well with my own family, my daughter, etc. And so we have someone here that is an expert on many levels, I should say. I would classify him as a Renaissance man. He's a doctor, a physician, but he's also a writer. He's an avid fisherman and an author on boating, but he also has a very important series that is getting a lot of acclaim. In fact, achieving #1 on Amazon new releases status in couples and family therapy. This latest one will stop you in your tracks and will also be an incredible, helpful guide to you or anyone who is in a loving relationship that they either want to take to the next level or repair beyond what they thought was possible. It's called 20 Reasons Why People Dump Each Other. You heard that right. 20 Reasons Why People Dump Each Other. But it's full of beautiful, wonderful tips and advice and anecdotal stories, things to make you do everything you can to repair your relationship. Without further ado, Dr. Rami Geffner. Dr. Rami, thank you so much for joining us on the way home.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me on your show.
Was that the longest introduction you've ever had?
I don't know. I usually time it, but I lost my watch in the ocean, so.
Very good. Yeah. You have a great sense of humor. And, when I look over your resume and the amount of books you've written, and some of them, kind of disparate in topic, like from boating and fishing to intimate relationships in our lives. It's really interesting. And as a business owner and a physician, you are a busy guy. But I think this book is so important. I don't know a single person who hasn't either been in a relationship or is going through one right now that they think might be worth dumping, but maybe it's worth saving. So tell us why you wrote 20 Reasons Why People Dump Each Other and what it has in it.
I chose that to write as my first book. And then when the response was so overwhelming, I couldn't help myself. And up till now, I wrote about 14 books because anything that touches my heart that has to do with relationships, I try to expand on. And my latest book, which I just finished, called The Art of Choosing the Right Partner, follows the other 12 books, which talk about trust, forgiveness, respect, etc. But I chose this because there's so many marriages that go awry, and there's so many relationships that end up in bad feelings. And it's causing havoc amongst our families, especially if you're married and you make a commitment to each other. A lot of people have kids, and when they break up, the kids get involved in the process, and so does the extended family. So with the rate of divorce, which is really scary, it's probably over 50% these days, I thought it was really important for people to start paying attention to relationships in general.
Dr. Rami, so relationships of all types, whether it's a patient and doctor, and whether it's two within a couple, a committed couple, or a marriage. You have 20 reasons here why people dump each other, and I want to get into some of the most prominent ones that you think are reflected in your book. But I also want to ask you about your acronym AIR, AIR, and why you feel that is kind of at the crux of a lot of this.
Well, AIR stands for, it's an acronym that stands for A, awareness, because if you're not aware of what's going on, there's nothing you can do about it. It's like living in a vacuum. You're not attuned to it, and neither people around you may not be either. Well, so once you become aware of a situation, you may be able to start thinking about, wow, this is not good. I can improve on it. So what you do then is you develop an intention to change it, to improve it, to work on it. And that's the I and the air. And the R is the repair, because once you decide that you really want to improve it because it's not good, you can then formulate a plan to repair it. Now, to address your second question is, what are the reasons why women leave men or could complain about the relationship with men? So let me read the top 5. Number 1 is that people in the female category complain about being unseen and unheard. That means that they could be in a room with someone that they're close to, and they feel like the person just basically ignores them. The second common reason is even when they start speaking, they may have something very sensitive to talk about, emotional, and they feel like that there's no empathy, meaning that the other person may be listening to what they say, but they feel nothing that they're trying to amplify. You know, if you're sad, you want someone to like, you know, reckon that you're sad and help you with that sadness, because it just feels that there's a connection. The third one is, you know, when people take each other for granted and they start feeling ignored, they feel like a roommate. So, for instance, you know, you come home after a hard day's work, you may not say hello, how are you, how's your day, how did things go? You don't want to talk about anything. So, you know, there's no hugs, kisses, a little rubbing of the elbows. So you start becoming like roommates, you know, college roommates. So you have to be aware that this is happening and then add some spice or something to that relationship. The fourth one is minimizing communication. In other words, there are a lot of things that you may want to or not want to speak about. So if that is brought up and you don't really want to speak to someone about something that you don't want to talk about, you basically turn them off. And nobody likes to be turned off. They want to feel like, you know, you got a connection, we're communicating, we're speaking to each other, etc. And then the fifth one is when someone feels that they pay a lot more attention to an emotional love, emotional labor. They're the ones who think about everything that needs to be done, how the kids are feeling, how grandma feels. Did you invite her to house for dinner? So a lack of that emotional communication or emotional labor is something that comes up, and it could become a situation where you feel like you're carrying most of them.
Yes.
So the women. So that basically talks about the women.
Yeah.
Would you like
That's
to
the women, but you
men?
also have it for the men as well, right?
Oh my gosh. I have more than 20 reasons, but I'm not going to talk about it. No, I'm
Yeah.
just
We'll
kidding.
do the top 5 for men also.
Okay,
And then we'll talk about some of your the opportunity for repairing some of these that we can go through quickly.
Okay, so the top one is when a man feels unappreciated and criticized. So you want to feel like you're appreciated by what you do for your family and for the person you're with. Second one is lack of physical affection or intimacy. Affection is just like, the intent of being nice and feely, and intimacy is really being close physically. I don't think I have to elaborate on that, but so many men and women are ruled by hormones, so there's a rhythm to that in addition. The third one is when a man feels emotionally distant from the person he's with. That doesn't feel good. The fourth one is when he hears that whatever he's doing is not enough or not good enough. That's very disappointing. It's almost being criticized, and he becomes somewhat defensive and unappreciated, like the number one feeling. And then the fifth one is a lack of respect, when you don't feel like you're respected by the people you're with. Mm-hmm. That sets your heart in a different direction.
Yeah, for sure. My guest is Dr. Rami Geffner. His latest book, he has so many out, is 20 Reasons Why People Dump Each Other. It's formulated. It's actually, the book is very well done in a sense. It's almost like a workbook. You can go through various almost kind of quizzes where you ask yourself some questions that you have down there, and you can get some tips on how to repair and connect deeper and further. I'm assuming it's because, Dr. Rami, that you feel that there is possibility and hope for any relationship, even some of the hardest, do you say?
Yeah, I agree with you. The sooner the better. And it takes time, and it takes initiation, and it takes a very strong desire and will. So if you're aware that there's something that's not working well, don't ignore it. Don't sweep it under the rug, because eventually it comes back to bite you. And imagine if it's more than one issue that arises, okay? So when I speak to people and I start consulting them, I give them about 600 questions to answer. And those 600 questions are divided into 12 topics. And so I need to focus on which topic is of more important than another topic, so we could start somewhere in helping them repair the relationship. Mm-hmm. So I start with questions, and from questions, I can direct my attention to what needs to be addressed. And this is the way the books are set up. They're set up with a lot of information, but in the very beginning, I explain to the reader that they should answer these questions. And any question that is less than a 3, because they're based from 1 to 5, they should address in the chapter of the book. So if there's one question that's 4 or 5, and you don't have the time to deal with it or want to read it or etc., go to the ones that you filled out that were like 3, 2, and 1. Those are questions and issues that you really want to read more about because you don't know enough and you're weak in that. And that could be causing some of the problems that you're having. So this is the way I work with people. And this is what I expect them to do when they read the book. This is not just a book for fun. It's a book that you need to take seriously and keep it around you, because if you don't keep this book around you and you don't see it, you're going to out of sight, out of mind. You're not going to remember that it's there for a reason. And the reason you bought it is so that it could help you and manage your relationship in a better manner.
Absolutely. It's easy. Like we sometimes, we know that there's an issue, there's a problem, but it's hard to tackle things that are uncomfortable or in which we don't have a lot of faith are going to get fixed. And so we therefore brush it under the rug. What do you do, Dr. Rami, when you've got one person within the relationship, and that doesn't matter whether it's a love relationship, a marriage, a mother and her child, whatever. What do you suggest when only one is willing or able to delve in and try to fix it? What do you do when only one shows an actual desire to make things better?
Well, number one, you never stop asking that person to get some help in dealing with the issue, okay? And number two, it's almost hopeless. It's like when you have two people, relationships involve two people, not just one person. The problem is that, with all due respect to psychologists and psychiatrists, you walk into their office, you pay them a lot of money, they listen to you for half an hour to an hour. They don't give you any reading material or workbooks to work through, and they don't expect you, even if they had it, to use it. I refuse to take care and help people who do not want to help themselves, because I can't do the job for people. They have to want to do it themselves. So, if a couple comes to me or any relationships comes to me and want my help, I seriously say to them, if you don't follow the rules, we don't need to do this, because you're wasting your time and my time. Mm-hmm. And there are people out there that really demand my time, and I can't give everybody my time. So it's important for me to know that if we're going down a certain road, we're all going to work together. Yes. Nobody's going to get lazy about it. Otherwise, the relationship is not important enough.
Absolutely.
And that's the way I like to deal with things. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why this book is so valuable. And I'm not saying that, you shouldn't seek counseling or you shouldn't have somebody like you or a coach or something like this. However, this book gives you tools to start the process within yourselves. And if you're with a partner, if you're with somebody who is equally desired of getting to a place where the relationship can improve and be harmonious, why not do it with the book? Because it is set up like that. It's like a workbook, 20 reasons why people dump each other. Now, I know that sounds a little bit on the negative side, but the fact is inside are all sorts of very beautiful ways to foster intimacy and joy and understanding and listening skills and so many things that, like you said, take two people to really decide to do.
Did you notice that the book has more than 1,000 quotations in it?
Yes.
That touch the heart? So because of this book and the response, the overwhelming response I'm getting, I wrote another book called 1,000 Quotations and 50 Topics. And most of those quotations come from that book. But I'm going to be following that with another book of quotations that come from the other books that I put together. And these quotes, I'm making into signs and cards so people can hang them up in their house to touch their hearts and remember that the most important things in our life is not money, it's not the way we live, but the kind of relationships we keep around us, which are the most important entities of our life.
Absolutely.
Without those relationships, we're hermits, we have no feelings, our emotions go away, we're reduced to nothing, really. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's really, really important to me. I'd like to start a movement in this country, in the public's eye, to deal with these issues so we can decrease the divorce rates, separation rates, collateral damage, and the way people treat each other. And this is not about blame. It's about working together, forgiving each other for mistakes we've made, and learning the new skills that I'm trying to introduce in these books. That's why I'm writing different books. Each book is on a different topic. And they're all very important. Relationships are complex, very, very complex.
Yes, they are. But it's wonderful that you've done such a cohesive and concentrated effort to bring the positive aspects of how we can enhance our relationships and the great tools that it does take once we're committed to making it better. Once again, the book is called 20 Reasons Why People Dump Each Other. And it's, again, number one, it has achieved on Amazon on the new release status in the couples and family therapy section. And R.E. Geffner is the writer on that. That's you, Dr. Rami Geffner. And people can obviously find your book on Amazon, 20 Reasons Why People Dump Each Other. They can also go to your website to see all that you're doing and all that you have there at R.E., the letter R, the letter E, Geffner.com. And Geffner is spelled Geffner, Geffner, R.E. Geffner.com. Thank you for your beautiful wisdom today, your wonderful introduction of this book that is probably going to save a lot of relationships. And I think we need content like this going out all the time. And yes, like you said, reminders all over the house, signs and affirmations and quotes and words that will bring us joy and bring our hearts open to one another. I think it's a great idea. Dr. Rami Geffner, thank you so much for joining us today on the way home. What a perfect topic for every time of the year.
Thank you, Laura Smith. I really appreciate your time, effort, energy, and your intense dedication to relationships. It's well noted. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you all for listening to The Way Home this week and to my wonderful guests. And may you all have a wonderful week that is safe, that's happy, healthy, and full of lots of miracles as well. I'm Laura Smith. See you next time from The Way Home.
Podcasts by Federated Media.